Here we are at the home of the Traverse City Pittsburghers here in beautiful northern Michigan. We are proud sponsors this year with a banner out in left field, a fun t-shirt cannon to come out and get yourself a free Pittsburghers and Centennial Wealth t-shirt. Come out and bring the family and enjoy a game here at the Pittsburghers ballpark. Today on the show, we're going to be relating baseball and your finances and talking about, is it time to make a change? Looking at pitching changes and management of the game, relating right back to your retirement. All of that and so much more coming here right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
You know, John, we find ourselves here at beautiful Pittsburgh Stadium in the bullpen. Folks, do you ever see a pitcher sitting down, hop up, and go right to the pitcher's mound? No. There would be injuries, there would be inaccuracies with their pitching. They have a bullpen for a reason. They warm up, throw multiple pitches, do stretches, different exercises, so that way they're nice and loose, they're nice and warm, and ready to kind of be at peak performance when they enter the game. With retirement planning and investments, it really should be the same thing. If you're considering retirement, don't just all of a sudden at the day of your retirement, you're not just going to start thinking about this. This is something you should be warming up for. You should be planning ahead for, right? There's different steps you can be doing, whether you're 10 years out, 5 years out, 2 years out, or even a few days out, kind of a method to that. Just like pitchers in a bullpen, they kind of start throwing it easy, right? And then they start getting harder and harder as that time goes along. Retirement planning is no different.
Yeah, so true. I was just talking to somebody earlier this past week and everything, and they are basically saying, well, the position that they were in was no longer there. They basically were sort of pushed out, pushed into retirement, and ultimately they were sort of saying, well, I don't really know what to do. In their case, they had a pension, and with that pension then there was offered like a lump sum option or a monthly income, and they didn't really understand all the different rules of how that worked. And then there was this 401k plan that they'd been just sort of putting into all on the traditional side. There was none allocated towards the Roth side of their 401k plan. And so those are maybe some little things that we observed as we were talking through, trying to figure out, okay, well, what are those next steps? Maybe if we would have had the opportunity to talk 1, 2, 3, or 5 years ago, there may have been some adjustments that we would have made as we sort of got you warmed up or prepared a little better when it comes to retirement.
Absolutely. You know, those little things that you can do if we got a little time on our side could be really impactful when you get into your retirement. Again, if you kind of have a little bit of runway there to allow yourself those opportunities. I was just sitting down with some wonderful folks who were going to be retiring early in their eyes, as they called it. They were in their late 50s. One example is they were going to have to go on the marketplace insurance. Insurance pricing is based upon your family's household resources or income. So they had done a wonderful job of savings. They had a significant amount of assets in 401ks, IRAs, all tax deferred. So every dollar they were going to pull out was all going to be taxed as income, and also from a health insurance subsidy portion, going to kind of count against them and drive their pricing of their health care plan up. The amazing thing that we had the opportunity to do is they were about 4 years away from retirement at that point. So we were able to start designing a plan focusing in on helping reduce their healthcare expenses or healthcare premium costs, all because we had this opportunity to just shift some things around. It didn't change their living or their opportunities they had right now. Just that little adjustment of where money was going saved them thousands of dollars in their early years of retirement, all with just simple health care. Folks, these are one example of some of those adjustments you have that you can make during that time.
Yeah, another example that I can think of is when people come to us and they start talking about, well, some of the debt that they have leading up to retirement. so vital when you look at that mortgage, as that's probably one of your biggest expenses as you're trying to prepare for retirement. Well, if you can ultimately get that mortgage paid off, all the better. But even more importantly, the credit cards. That's something where too often we come across where people may have run up their credit cards and they don't really have a plan of how am I going to pay this off. And then all of a sudden they come to us after and they said, well, I took it all out of my IRA and did that. And then what they don't realize is, well, I'm going to owe extra taxes on this. And unfortunately, they didn't really plan ahead. They just sort of up and did it on their own. But that's where at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we'll help sit down with you, no cost, no obligation, provide a second opinion on how you're going about things. And it's something that we feel is so vital when we're trying to build that cohesive plan, and how all these different things are so important to bring together.
Absolutely. Again, nothing can be overlooked or unturned when we look at this planning process, retirement process. You want to get this right the first time, folks, right? This isn't something you want to have a do-over and trying to be changing. I'm guessing you don't want to have to go back to work because there was some missed opportunity. So take the time, especially again, get in that bullpen. Now is the time to be looking at this, having a plan, looking through these things. All of this here is designed for your success in the future so you can plan to retire well.
57% of employees say that finances are the top cause of stress in their lives. This is one of many findings from a PwC survey. Human resources managers and business owners, we will partner with you to help your employees. At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we focus on education and the health of the whole person. We offer a complimentary financial wellness workshop with food provided for your team. We all want our employees to be productive at work, but most importantly, we want them to flourish in every area of their life.
Life is a journey filled with uncertainties, especially when it comes to retirement. Sometimes a pitching change is just what you need. Our team at Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning, serving all of Northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. We'll work with you on a holistic approach that includes income, investments, healthcare, taxes, and estate planning. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Plan to retire well. Click or call for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
John and I are standing here on the pitcher's mound, a beautiful Pitt Spitter Stadium here, and we're talking about, is it time to make a change? Oftentimes in the game of baseball, you have a starting pitcher, and it's very rare that they go a complete game and pitch that no-hitter. It occasionally happens, but usually you're going to have relievers and closers and have another pitcher come in and change. So as a pitcher where you're on the mound, you never want to see that manager coming out to get you because you want to feel confident that you can do it. So again, as the pitcher, you feel confident you can do it, but that manager that's been doing this for years knows it's time to make a change, and you have a different specialist come in and pitch. Sometimes maybe you're a right-handed pitcher and they want a left-handed pitcher to pitch against that tough lefty, or it's getting near the end of the game and they need someone to bring a little extra juice into the game, and that sort of perspective. When it comes to retirement, it's going to be very similar. The person that maybe started that investment for you 20, 30, 40 years ago that helped you build that 401k might not be the person that's specialized in to helping you close that game out, right, John?
Yeah, so true. And that's where I think of a lot of times as just as true with baseball, you got a lot of different tools. A lot of different advisors have different tools that they can use, whether that's bringing in different pitchers, but more so talking about, okay, what are the different types of accounts that you could use when it comes to your retirement planning? So some of the different firms that you may talk to, they might say, well, you only need to invest in stocks, and that's what'll work for you. Or others, well, bonds are the appropriate investment structure. Others, if they're insurance licensed, they might go down the path of, well, annuities should fit in there. And that's where, from our perspective, we look at, okay, these are all different types of tools that could be used for your retirement plan. And again, it comes back, this is your money, this is your retirement, and it's understanding more about you and what you're trying to accomplish. And then the advisory team comes alongside you and determines, okay, what are the appropriate tools to help you accomplish those goals? Whereas a lot of times it seems like it almost goes a little bit backwards.
Absolutely, right. That's a great point, John. You know, it takes a great team to be able to do that. You know, a pitching staff, when you look at baseball, there's not one pitcher that pitches every single game, and oftentimes, you know, major league teams have 5 or 6 starters and then a few relievers and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 really good closers, you know, and so when it comes to those things like you're talking about, very seldomly is there one perfect solution for everything. Oftentimes people come in and they think there's that golden goose out there, that silver bullet that's going to be the solution for everything that they haven't uncovered it yet. Oftentimes, you know, you hear diversification and stuff like that. It doesn't just mean stocks and bonds. There's a multitude of different things out there when you look at this. So when you're thinking about making a change, could be the advisory, it could be your plan, it could be the investments in there. There's many different things to consider as your journey along retirement or into retirement happens.
Yeah, so true. And as you're looking at your overall retirement plan and you're trying to determine, well, is it time to make a change? I mean, maybe you've thought through and said, well, okay, my investments have done okay, but as you think about it, well, nobody's really helped you with an income plan or a tax plan, or you've never been introduced to a estate planning attorney, or you're unsure with insurance planning how that comes into play. That's where I think back to the movie Major League. That was, I think, in the 90s, Wild Thing. And Art doesn't quite have the mohawk hairstyle like Wild Thing, but that's where we think of ourselves at Centennial Wealth Advisory, sort of that closer as you're getting to retirement or into retirement and you're trying to sort of bring this cohesive plan together. That's ultimately where we would come into play to walk alongside you and help navigate through what can be the most important years as you've saved all this money, but now you need a cohesive plan to help you through retirement.
Yeah, can you kind of start to play that entrance music that he has, right? Yeah, but exactly to the point there, you know, you've worked so hard up until this point, saving, putting maybe kids through school, doing the things that you've been wanting to do, and we're getting so close to this culmination, this goal of retirement planning. Allow yourself an appropriate team. Allow yourself to consider options and change to be able to do that. Again, make sure you know your options and you understand what you have. So often, just education when it comes to that is so important. You know, you may think you have something, but it might be a little bit different. You know, there's never a worse feeling when somebody can open up a statement and say, I had no idea something, whether it's they could lose that much, act a certain way, not have accessibility. Make sure you understand all that and understand what else is out there that may be appropriate to fit that. So again, we love the opportunity to sit down with you and help you look to see if a pitching change at some level is helpful for your retirement planning so you can enjoy that retirement you work so hard for and plan to retire well.
The biggest concerns that clients have when they come to see us is usually the fear of the unknown. When they're heading into retirement, there is so many uncertainties that they're going to face, not only financially, but with time, with insurances, with taxes.
You figure you've got one chance to do it and you better do it right.
With that fear of unknown, they're looking for somebody to walk alongside them in this journey and to guide them along the way.
Retirement's like 20 to 30 years of unemployment, so you need to have a plan in place to generate that income.
We can help eliminate some of those unknowns and give them the confidence that they're going to be able to succeed in the goals they want to do in retirement.
We want you to have your finances in order so that that's more of an afterthought, more of something that you say, well, that's what our team at Centennial Wealth Advisory is there to take care of.
Too often, our industry focuses on the tools that are available in mutual funds and stocks and bonds, and oftentimes the industry wants to start with a product. We believe here that you should focus on the individual's goals first. What do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like to you? Then what strategies do we need to implement to make those goals become a reality?
So often we find that our clients love spending time with their family, with their grandchildren. Here in northern Michigan, people love to be outside and enjoy kayaking or biking or hiking in the warmer months, sometimes in the winter months as well, out snowshoeing. Our hope at Centennial Wealth Advisory is to help you open up those opportunities to go and enjoy your retirement.
As a financial advisor, it's not just my job to manage just your money. It's my job to understand who you are as a person, your personal relationships, your aspirations and goals, and so I can help create a plan that ties your financial future with your personal future and all those goals.
You want to retire, you get one opportunity to retire, and you want to do it right the first time. Our role here at Centennial Wealth Advisory is to help walk you through that entire process and ultimately help you plan to retire well.
As you are planning for retirement, where's your journey taking you? Do you have a personal retirement roadmap? At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we have designed a complimentary retirement roadmap video series that can be customized based on your personal circumstance and preferences. There is no cost and no obligation. Simply go to cen-wealth.com/roadmap. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
I had the privilege this past season of coaching my son's middle school baseball team, and so with that, I had 17 young 6th, 7th, and 8th graders on that squad, and so it was a bit of a challenge, I'll admit, Art, of trying to find, okay, where are these players, their strengths, their weaknesses, and how do I ultimately bring them together as a team and set a lineup, making sure they all get an opportunity to play, but try and figure out how does that really work? And thankfully for us, we came away with a decent amount of wins on the season and everything. I don't think it was much that I had to do. We had some pretty good players on the team, but I think of that when it comes to your investments and everything. Who ultimately is on your team?
Absolutely, and I think there's different ways to look at this. And first, let's start about the people on that team. You know, one, who's the manager of your team? You know, in baseball, the manager stands here in the dugout, sets the lineup, subs pitchers in and out of the game, and ultimately kind of calls, you know, the pass. Are we stealing? Are we not stealing? With the investment world, who's managing things? Who's that ultimate manager that's going to be calling the shots of your plan? Is it you? What is your experience with that? Have you ever done that before? Is it your financial advisor, financial planner? Again, what is their experiences? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And also, do they have the ability and the know-how to make a change if need be? Again, having a manager is one thing, but having a manager that's being proactive and able and willing to make those changes is a totally another thing. And second then is what experiences and qualifications do they have? Have they done this before, and do they have the appropriate licensing? You know, you wouldn't have I should say it's unlikely that a little league coach, that somebody that's only coached little league, is going to step on the field and coach a professional baseball team. There's going to be steps to get there, and what are those steps when you come to those individuals and that manager on your team? When we start to build that out further, it's not just a manager. Right on a baseball team, there's other coaches, and then obviously there's players. So when we look at investments, John, you know, that's kind of where who else is on the team, right?
Right, exactly. So it goes beyond that, as Art's referencing the investment standpoint. I've been with Centennial Wealth Advisory for 19 years now, and we've adapted as time has moved along, and knowing the different strengths and weaknesses, not just the investment world, but then adding a team member that specifically helps our clients with tax planning. Not just tax preparation, which is important each year. Obviously, you have to file your taxes, but more importantly is then looking at some different ideas, such as, okay, if a majority of your retirement assets haven't been taxed yet, say they're in a traditional IRA, what about a Roth IRA? So often people, I think, overlook that and don't really understand it. And if they're doing it on their own or their accountant doesn't really fully understand the long-term benefits of a Roth IRA, they might have heard, well, you shouldn't do that. And so they forever just sort of wrote that off as far as from a tax planning strategy. But it can be so important, not just to build the assets maybe for your retirement plan, to build those tax-free retirement assets, but if you don't end up spending those assets, that's a tax-free asset left to either your children, grandchildren, or whoever you may leave that to. Another area is, we call it tax loss harvesting. So if you have an after-tax sort of brokerage account at the end of each year, one of the things where our tax team looks at is, okay, should you realize either gains or losses on your investments to ultimately offset previous year's gains or losses? And so that's a little strategy that can be implemented year in and year out that in the long run, again, can put so much more money in your pocket versus paying extra in taxes.
Absolutely. You know, and as John talked about these different players, you know, another member of that team that might get used, but they're maybe seldom used as throughout the process, is like an insurance planner, insurance agent. Having them being able to step up and plan through the process is going to be vital in that. It might not be something that you need through the whole process as a different players on the baseball field. There might be specialists and stuff like that step in, but having that manager knowing when and how to use them is going to be vital. You know, who would have thought maybe 10, 20 years ago that health insurance, you would have to be planning that into your retirement plan, your retirement income plan, your retirement tax plan, and all of that aspect of that. So folks, I hope you've seen through this conversation how vital it is to have the appropriate team in place, the appropriate people in place and on your side to help you win that retirement game. Again, we only want to do this once. We want to do it the right way right off the bat. And so make sure you're having that plan in place, going through these pieces and being very comfortable with the team that you've picked, that you've drafted and put into place so you can plan to retire well.
57% of employees say that finances are the top cause of stress in their lives. This is one of many findings from a PwC survey. Human resources managers and business owners, we will partner with you to help your employees. At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we focus on education and the health of the whole person. We offer a complimentary financial wellness workshop with food provided for your team. We all want our employees to be productive at work, but most importantly, we want them to flourish in every area of their life.
Life is a journey filled with uncertainties, especially when it comes to retirement. Sometimes a pitching change is just what you need. Our team at Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning, serving all of Northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. We'll work with you on a holistic approach that includes income, investments, healthcare, taxes, and estate planning. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Plan to retire well. Click or call for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation.
What a great place to be, at a ballpark on a beautiful day, cheering on your favorite team, hopefully enjoying your favorite beverage, a hot dog, a little popcorn later, and getting just to take the whole experience in. Liken that to your retirement. You're going to have fans of your retirement, you're going to have naysayers, and just like that, along the way, you have to kind of listen or choose to tune them out. So oftentimes in our position, we have individuals that come in and they talk about these fans. That fan can be your neighbor, could be a sibling maybe, can be your plumber. You know, it's very interesting how many people offer up financial guidance when they know that you're in a time of your life where maybe you need that or maybe you're seeking that. But ask yourself some questions. Are they really a fan of mine? What is their experience of that? You know, people in life will go through lots of different, reviews and all that sort of stuff when they're picking their favorite electrician or plumber or something along those lines. But we have to be able to consider this is your financial livelihood. Consider who you're talking to.
Yeah, and that's where I think of, we actually have some clients at Centennial Wealth Advisory. You referenced siblings, and I think of one family in particular. There's multiple siblings, and how they came to us to help guide them through their retirement planning. And what's special there is that each and every one of their circumstances is completely different. They're all related, but each one has a different approach, a different comfort level when it comes to risk. And that's so often where I think it's important to match up from a risk perspective, that your investments match that. I mean, you might be getting the stock tips. You always tend to hear from coworkers or friends or whoever it may be of, oh, this is the stock to buy because it did really well for me. What you don't necessarily always hear is the 10 other stocks that didn't do so well for them. But that's where
gamblers, right?
Well, yeah, there you go. So that's where I'll take a walk or a single, maybe a double, but not too many home runs. But again, it comes back to looking at, when I think of this risk and this CAN acronym that we use, capacity for risk. So how much capacity do you have to take on? More importantly, what's your attitude towards risk? If it's one where there's a bad year in the market, and where is that, we call it your uncle point, where we just say, okay, enough's enough. I don't want to see my portfolio drop more than X percent. And as you're leading up to retirement and then into retirement, I'm guessing that percentage drop reduces significantly, but a lot of times people don't mimic their portfolio to match up with that. And then lastly, the need factor. So with that, do you have enough already saved for retirement? And if you're going through retirement, taking a walk or getting a single, does that ultimately support your retirement plan from a growth perspective? If that's the case, then why are you swinging for the fences and trying to hit those home runs? Would a year where you made 30% in your portfolio seems like a great idea, but is that going to change your retirement dreams? Maybe for a year you feel good about yourself, but you probably don't change your lifestyle. But on the opposite end, what if all of a sudden you lose 40 or 50% of your portfolio? Now all of a sudden you might be thinking to yourself, well, maybe I need to go back to work. Maybe I need to cut out that income stream that I've been enjoying from the portfolio. Oh, now I'm not going to go on those trips, or I'm not going to go see the grandkids, or whatever it might be. That changes your retirement outcome. So that's where that need factor is so important when building a retirement plan.
Absolutely. We see those folks swinging for the fences when they don't have that holistic plan in place. They don't have a general direction, a cohesive pathway ahead, so they have the predictability in their retirement. So they think they need those big hits, or they hear the fans out there talking about these big hits all the time. So they feel like they're being left behind, or that fear of missing out, I call it, on something else that's out there. So folks, when we talk about these baseball analogies and we talk about retirement, there's so many similarities that cross paths. When you're watching your next baseball game, take a few of these things in, kind of look at that and think about that with your own personal finances. Again, we challenge you, make sure you have that cohesive plan. Make sure you don't feel like you have to hit a home run to make this thing work. Have you sat down, have you mapped out all the areas that we've talked about through this show with the different investments, the different income, tax, insurance, estate planning? Do you have all those boxes checked off? Have you set your retirement budget? Ask yourself these questions and make sure you're confident with this. Retirement can feel so burdensome, but when you do this, it can be such a weight off of your shoulders. We'd love to join you in your journey to help you plan to retire well.